Hey friends, Jeff here with missionmusician.com and mixpractice.com, and today I want to start a little mix series called Mix Fundamentals, Getting Back to the Basics, and we're going to talk about 5 things that I do when I mix, 5 things that I think about when I mix. Now, this isn't a formula because honestly I don't believe in any kind of mixing formulas. This is just kind of a little roadmap that I think about when I mix. So what are the 5 things that I think about? And I don't have any fancy terms for these or anything, but you get the idea here. So the 5 things are balance, fixing problems, enhancing tracks, shaping tracks, and then putting the tracks in a space, okay? And today we're going to focus on balance. And I'm going to create separate videos for each of these. So if you, by chance, miss one, you can go to my YouTube channel. They'll be in a playlist on my YouTube page, so you can find it easy. So let's talk about balance. What is balance? Well, there's lots of different ways to describe balance as far as mixing. I'm going to talk about the most basic form of balance, and that is just using your fader and your pan pots. Now, there are other forms of balance like tonal balance where you would use an EQ, right? You have your low end, your mid, and your highs. If a mix sounds woofy or bassy, the tonal balance is not right. There's too much going on in the low end. If your mix sounds harsh, the tonal balance isn't right. There's something going on in the upper mids or the high end, so you have to use EQ to fix that. But we're going to talk about today is just a static mix balance. This is the foundation of your mix. When you start mixing, all right, it's where you set your levels before you slap on any EQ, any compression, or anything like that. So it's important to get it right from the get-go. What you're looking at in front of you here is a session from the album Vessel by Laurence Olivier, and I was fortunate enough to get to mix this whole album. It's a great Americano folk kind of album, and it's not the kind of typical stuff that I mix, so it was pretty cool for me to be able to mix this album and get out of my comfort zone a little bit. So I'm going to play you just a little bit of this so you can kind of hear the finished result, and this is the track that made it on the album, and it's not mastered. This is just the mixing session. So let me play a little bit of it, and then we'll go to the raw session and we'll balance the tracks. All right, so here we go. Let me click up here.
Then let me be a star.
All right, so you get the idea. I forgot to mention the song is called I Will, and it's featuring Janice Merritt on background vocals. So let me pause the video, and I'll get to the rough session, the file as I received it, and we'll start going over balance, and I will kind of give you some questions to ask yourself as you balance your mix. So I'll be right back. Okay, so here we are in the session. let me put these pan knobs back here really quick. And so you can see we don't have a whole lot of tracks here, right? Looks like maybe 12. But that's okay. That's actually, I prefer it that way. Don't put in a bunch of stuff you don't need. This song didn't need a lot, so Lawrence didn't put in a lot. Now, the one downside to this song, the tracks as I received it, is the drums are just a stereo track of drums, right? So if I go up to the drums, you can see here, these are the drums, and that's a problem. Why is that a problem? Well, because we don't have control over them, and we're going to talk about that in the next video as far as fix, because I knew this was a problem that I was going to have to fix because I want control over the drums. All right, so let's create a very basic rough balance here using nothing but faders and nothing but the pan knobs. And one other thing I want to address really quick. If we look at this song, let's see here. Let me tighten this up a little bit. All right, so we notice that the drums aren't playing all the way through. The bass isn't playing all the way through. The acoustic is. These electric guitars were not meant to be played all the way through. I asked Lawrence, he originally sent me a stereo guitar track. I asked him to send me 2 mono tracks, and he just played through the whole song. So I just cut out what wasn't there originally, if that makes sense. The fiddle is not playing through the whole song. The lead vocal is playing through the whole song, or through most of it. So what does that tell me? That gives me a little bit of information. That tells me that this acoustic guitar right here is pretty important because it's playing through the whole song from the beginning to the end. Now, it may not be important or as important during the parts where the bass and the drums are in, but it's very important from the beginning of the song. It's what's going to carry the song. So I know that that has to be up fairly loud so it can be heard. So I'm going to use that information when I start mixing, when I start balancing the tracks against each other. So I'm going to start with the vocal and this acoustic stereo guitar.
I will kiss you goodbye, 'cause I know you can't stay. I will swallow my tears until I'm alone.
Okay, so this is just giving a supporting role to the main acoustic guitar, and I believe this one is doing the same thing. Let's listen really quick. All right, so it's just making the acoustic guitar fuller in that spot. Let's continue on.
I will kiss you goodbye, 'cause I know you can't stay. I will swallow my tears until I'm alone. I will sleep with your pillow all through the night. And if I cannot be your rock, then let me be your stone. May the love that I will kiss goodbye, 'cause I know you can't stay. I will swallow my tears until I'm alone. I will sleep with your pillow all through the night. And if I cannot be a rock, then let me be a stone.
Okay. So that sounds pretty decent to me. So in my head, as I was sitting there listening, these are the questions that I was asking myself, and that you should ask yourself too. The first thing is, and it should be pretty obvious, is can I hear everything? And I absolutely can. Now, we didn't do this track simply because it just does a little count-in at the very beginning on the acoustic. It just strums 4 beats. So not really worried about this right now. So can I hear everything? And if not, what can't I hear and what needs to be done about it? And one thing I forgot to do is put the drums in stereo. So let's listen to this one more time and just kind of listen and see if we can hear everything.
I will kiss you goodbye, 'cause I know you can't stay. I will swallow my tears until I'm alone. I will sleep with your pillow all through the night. And if I cannot be a rock, then let me be a stone.
All right, so I can hear everything, but if I couldn't hear everything, then I would, just simply raise the fader until I could hear everything. Now, I want to preface that with I can hear everything generally. What I mean is, without the use of compression, some things kind of go in and out, such as the fiddle. Okay, it's not loud enough in some parts, but in some parts it's too loud. So I know I need compression to fix that because it's very dynamic. But in general, I can hear everything, right? The kick from the drums kind of sounds faint and distant, and we're going to address that in fix. The drums as a whole kind of sound far away, and I don't necessarily like that. I want the kick and the snare to be right up there to kind of make the song solid. But in general, I can hear everything. Okay, so what are some other questions you could ask yourself? Well, if you can't hear everything, then what's too soft? You know, what can't you hear, or what's overly loud? Like when I originally started doing this, the vocal was a little too loud, so I had to bring it down to make it sit in the mix a little bit better. Which brings me to the next question. Can I hear the vocals clearly? In this case, I absolutely can. And then you could ask yourself, well, does something need automating? The fiddle very well may need some automation to make it sit in the mix just right. Now, I'm going to try using compression and see if that helps. But at the very basic form of balance, what we've done here is created a rough mix where I can hear every instrument that's playing. The mix sounds full. It doesn't sound too harsh. It doesn't sound too boomy. Now, it is muddy. Yes, there's no question about that. Could be because we haven't applied any EQ. It's not clear. Once we apply EQ, it's going to make it feel like a blanket was lifted off the rough mix, and everything will sound clear. Okay, so that's it for this part of the series on balance. So just take your time and listen through a section of the song where most of the instruments are playing. Okay, so this is going to be my balance for the rest of the song as I mix. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to adjust things. It's just this is the basic balance that I'm going to try to keep as I mix. I'm going to try to keep these instruments pretty much where they're at. Okay, so hope you enjoyed this part of the series, and if you like these type of videos, please subscribe, and I will see you real soon in the next part. Thanks for watching. Bye.